Money follows clarity. Wealth responds to precision, and the wealthy have mastered the art of speaking their future into existence. They don't just talk about surviving, they talk about scaling. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you want to change your life, change your philosophy. But if you want to multiply your life, change your language, because wealth is attracted to identity, and identity is shaped by the way you speak to yourself and to the world. Most people don't fail financially because of the economy or their job. They fail because they never upgraded the beliefs they were given. And here's the great tragedy. They defend those beliefs as if they're facts. I can't afford it. Money is the root of evil. People like me don't get rich. That's not wisdom. That's programming. And if you don't change the script, you'll keep living the same story. You've got to treat your mind like fertile soil. If you plant weeds, complaints, blame, excuses, you'll get a harvest of frustration. But if you plant seeds of wealth thinking, discipline, courage, strategy, value, you get the kind of life most only dream about. You must recondition yourself to believe that wealth is not only possible for you too, it's earned through thought, speech, and action. Poor thinking hesitates rich thinking. Acts poor thinking, spans rich thinking. Invest poor thinking, waits for permission. Rich thinking creates its own opportunity. And make no mistake, the way you think when you're alone will decide how you live in public. So the question isn't, can you become wealthy? The question is, can you stop arguing for your limitations long enough to find out what's possible? Let's start now. Not by chasing riches, but by eliminating the thinking that rejects them. Because once the mind is free, the wallet follows. Let me tell you something I learned early in my life. Excuses will bankrupt you faster than a bad investment. Not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Excuses are the language of poverty. They sound like I would if I had more time, or if only the economy were better, or it's not my fault. I heard those phrases over and over when I was broke. And the worst part, I was the one saying them. See, I wasn't poor because of my job or my surroundings. I was poor because of the way I talked to myself about my life. I had mastered the art of escaping responsibility and blaming everything but my own choices. But then one day, I had a realization. So simple, it almost embarrassed me if my life was going to change. I had to change. If my wealth was going to grow, I had to grow. And that meant cutting out the language of blame and adopting a new vocabulary based on ownership, on discipline, on resolve. That's when everything began to shift. The wealthy think in terms of discipline. They say things like, it's on me. I didn't manage my time well. I didn't follow through. I didn't invest the effort. And the beauty is, once they say that, they regain power. See, excuses, hand your power to someone or something else. Discipline takes it back. That's the dialect of wealth. Accountability. You can't build wealth in your life if you're always handing your power away in the form of excuses. I remember a season in my early journey where I was invited to speak at a conference, but I didn't have the money for the travel. I caught myself about to say, well, I guess I can't afford it, but I stopped. I replaced the excuse with a question. How can I afford it? That question put me to work. I sold off some items I didn't need, picked up a side gig and made the trip. That one opportunity opened 5 more doors. I replaced the excuse with initiative and the reward multiplied. Excuses feel good in the moment. They get you off the hook, but they don't pay the bills. They don't build your name. They don't increase your net worth responsibility. Does the wealthy wake up and ask, what do I need to do today to honor my goals? Not what's wrong with the world, but what's within my control. That's the shift. It's not Mag's maturity. Now, this isn't about guilt. It's not about beating yourself up. It's about shifting your language. Listen carefully to your inner dialogue. When you hear an excuse forming, pause, replace it, turn. I'm too tired into, I need to better manage my wrist. Turn. I can't find the time into, I haven't made it a priority. The words you choose shape the direction of your life. Excuses anchor you to your past. Responsibility propels you into your future. Speak like someone who plans to be wealthy. Think like someone who is in control of their destiny. The moment you stop making excuses is the moment you start making progress. Let me tell you something that separates those who grow wealthy from those who stay stuck in cycles of scarcity. It's not always the size of their income. It's their awareness of it. Most people don't have a money problem. They have an attention problem. They don't know where their money's going, and when you don't know where it's going, it tends to go everywhere but where it should. Wealth isn't built just by earning more rents. Built by paying attention to every dollar you earn and every dollar you spend. I remember in my early years I was working hard, staying busy, but I always felt broke. I couldn't figure it out. Then a mentor said to me, "Do you know where your money's going?" I said, "Sort of." He said, "Sort of is the reason you're sort of broke." That hit me. From that day forward, I started tracking every dollar. I didn't wait until I had more money. I started with what I had. I used a simple notebook at first. Today, you've got spreadsheets, apps, automation, but the principle is the same. What you measure, you can manage, and what you manage, you can improve. Every month, I'd write down what I earned, what I spent, what I saved, and what I invested. At first, it was humbling. I saw just how many dollars were slipping through my fingers without intention. Little leaks that were sinking the whole ship. I was spending like someone who didn't plan to be wealthy. And that's when the shift happened. I stopped treating budgeting like punishment and started treating it like power. Tracking your money isn't about restriction. It's about direction. If you know where every dollar's going, you can start steering it towards your goal. You can say this: $10 goes to savings. That 50 goes toward my investment account. This 100 pays down debt. You become the boss of your money, not its employee. You don't need to be a financial expert to do this. You just need to care enough about your future to look at the truth in black and white. The wealthy know exactly what's coming in, what's going out, and where it's all headed. The poor guess. And guessing is gambling with your financial future. You don't build a house without a blueprint. Why would you build a life without a financial work? Here's the good news. Once you start tracking, you'll start noticing patterns. You'll spot waste. You'll catch emotional spending. You'll see how small changes can create big shifts. And over time, those insights will turn into decisions that build wealth. You'll stop asking, "Where did it all go?" and start saying, "I know where it's going and it's working for me." Discipline starts with awareness, and awareness starts with tracking. So start simple. Open a notebook, download an app, or create a spreadsheet. Write down your income, track your expenses, measure your progress. Do it every month, because the truth is wealth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by audit. And if you'll do that, if you'll take full responsibility for every dollar that enters and exits your life, you'll be shocked at how fast things begin to turn around. Debt is one of those things that doesn't just weigh on your wallet, it weighs on your mind, your choices, your future. It follows you like a shadow, whispering in your ear every time you think about starting something new. I've seen people with great potential paralyzed because they were buried in bills making minimum payments and calling that progress. But let me tell you this, debt is not a life sentence. It's a temporary condition that can be corrected with strategy, discipline, and a decision to no longer carry what doesn't belong in your future. I learned a long time ago that there are two ways to approach a mountain. One is to stare at the peak and feel overwhelmed. The other is to take one small, clear step and then another. When it comes to debt, the most powerful strategy I've seen is what they call the snowball method. It sounds simple, and that's why it works. You list every debt you have from the smallest balance to the largest. Not based on interest rate, not based on emotion, just by amount, and then you make the minimum payments on everything except that smallest one. That one you attack with everything you've got. Every extra dollar goes toward it. Every little surplus, every bit of hustle income, every unnecessary expense you cut that goes toward that first debt. Now here's the magic. Once that smallest debt is paid off, you take what you were putting toward it and roll it into the next smallest. Now you're paying more toward that one. And when that's gone, the payment gets even bigger for the next. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. Small at first, but with every turn it picks up more size, more speed, more power. That's what creates momentum. And momentum creates belief. See, the wealthy don't avoid debt because they're lucky. They avoid it because they've learned how expensive it is to pay for the past instead of investing in the future. And those who've been in debt and got out, they didn't do it all at once. They did it one payment at a time with focus and resolve. I remember a young man who came to one of my seminars. He was buried in credit cards and student loans. He started using this method. First month, he cleared a $300 store card. That little win, it lit a fire in him. He kept going. 12 months later, he'd paid off $11,000 in total, not because he made more money, because he made a better plan. And that's what I want you to see. It's not about magic, it's about math, but it's also about motivation. The snowball method gives you visible progress, and progress keeps you going. Paying off a $400 debt does more for your mindset than chipping away at a $15,000 one for 2 years, because you need early victories to believe long-term change is possible. So if debt has become your prison, make this your escape plan. List it out, get clear, get aggressive. Focus on one at a time. And with every balance you erase, remind yourself you're reclaiming freedom, focus, and future. That shift in thinking from consumer to invest. One of the most profound steps a person can take toward financial freedom. And here's the catch. It doesn't start when you have $1 million to invest. It starts with how you think about the $10 in your pocket today. See, most people are trained from an early age to consume. We are taught to shop, to want to spend, turn on the television, open your phone, drive through any city, you're being sold something, and if you're not aware, you'll get caught in the cycle of spending. Everything you make to impress people who aren't paying attention. The wealthy break that cycle, not because they're smarter, but because they think differently. They don't ask, can I afford this? They ask, will this grow my wealth or shrink it? That one question asked consistently can transform your financial life. I remember when I was first starting to make a little money, I'd get excited. I'd think, now I can finally go buy that thing I've been wanting. But then I met a man who was wealthy in every sense and, just with money, but with peace, clarity, options. I asked him what made the difference. He said, every dollar I earn, I give it a job. Grow or go. If it grows, I keep it. If it just goes, I think twice. That stuck with me. You've got to ask yourself, do you want to look rich or be rich? There's a difference. Looking rich is easy. Anyone with a credit card can fake it for a while, but being rich, that takes vision. That takes restraint. That takes asking different questions. You've got to train yourself to look at everything through the lens of return. If you're going to spend on something, ask, will it educate me, connect me, multiply me, or feed my vision? Or is it just feeding a momentary urge? Let's take an example. You've got $500. You could buy a new phone or a new outfit, or you could buy a course that teaches you how to grow a business. You could invest it into a skill that makes you $500 a month. You could put it toward building a brand, starting a service, buying a tool that earns one, fades the other compounds. That's the difference. And the people who build wealth aren't necessarily the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who master this decision the fastest. Even small decisions count. A $4 coffee every day becomes $120 a month. That's a stock investment. That's a product ad campaign. That's part of a down payment on a revenue-generating asset. Now, I'm not saying never enjoy anything. I'm saying think first. Don't go through life reacting like a consumer. Slow down. Ask the question. Put your investor hat on. You'll find that wealth begins when your thinking shifts, not when your salary doubles. That's why some people making $30,000 save and invest wisely, while others making $300,000 have nothing left at the end of the month because they never stop to ask, is this building me or billing me? So make the shift. Train your mind to spot opportunity, not just offers. Think long-term. Delay pleasure. Invest in growth. Because at the end of the day, the consumer spends for a moment, but the investor builds for a lifetime. Let me tell you something I learned early on in my career. Opportunity doesn't wait. It doesn't knock twice. It shows up quietly, and it favors those who are prepared to say yes. Most people miss the greatest moments of their life. Not because they didn't want them, but because they weren't ready when the door opened. You've got to train yourself not just to see opportunity, but to be ready to seize it. And that means preparation. That means setting aside something called an opportunity fund. Now, let's be clear. This is not an emergency fund that's for flat tires and doctor visits. That's to protect your downside. But wealth comes when you position yourself for the upside. And for that, you need what I call a wealth fund and opportunity fund. A separate account, not touched for impulse spending. Not drained when life gets busy, but reserved only for one thing. Buying your future when it goes on sale. I remember a time in my 20s when a friend came to me with a business idea. It was simple, scalable, and solid. He needed a small amount of capital to get it going. I believed in the concept, but I didn't have the funds set aside. I had some savings, sure, but it was all spoken for. Bills, trips, want. I wasn't liquid in a way that allowed me to say yes, even though my instincts screamed that I should. That opportunity went on without me, and it worked. That friend went on to build something valuable, something I could have been a part of. And that was the day I decided never again would I be unprepared when opportunity knocked. So what do? You start small, open a separate account, call it your yes fund, your wealth account, your opportunity engine, whatever lights a fire under you. And each week you send something into it. It might be $10, might be $50, might be $100. You automate it if you can, but you stay consistent either way. You treat that account like sacred ground. You don't rate it for shoes or gadgets or dinner out. You protect it because that account is not about what it holds today. It's about what it unlocks tomorrow when someone comes to you with a real estate deal. That cash flows. When a mentor offers a private coaching spot. When a stock dips in, the fundamentals look strong. When a small business needs seed money and you see the long-term value, you don't need to scramble. You don't need to borrow. You've got your answer ready. That little fund becomes your financial engine, the spark plug for the wealth machine. It turns hesitation into action and action into returns. And here's the real power. When you create an opportunity fund, you start looking at life differently. You become more alert to possibility. You stop saying, I can't afford that, and you start asking, is this the opportunity I've been saving for? Your lens shifts from survival to strategy, and that's what separates the average from the extraordinary. Not luck, but readiness. So make the decision, build that fund. Even if it's small, build it, protect it, grow it, because one day someone will come to you with the right idea at the right time, and you'll be able to say, yes, I've been ready. I want to share with you something that's been a cornerstone in the lives of every wealthy person I've ever known. The commitment to continuous learning, especially when it comes to money. You see, money is a language most people never take the time to learn fluently. Instead, they fumble with it, hoping it won't slip away. But the wealthy, they understand that mastering money starts with mastering knowledge, and that begins with reading one book at a time. Think about it. Just as compound interest grows your savings exponentially, the knowledge you gain about money compounds too. It builds on itself. The more you learn, the better decisions you make. The better decisions you make, the more your wealth grows. And it's not about reading 100 books in a month. It's about reading one good, solid financial book each month, something that challenges your thinking, expands your mindset, and teaches you how money works in the real world. I remember when I first came across timeless classics like The Richest Man in Babylon or Think and Grow Rich. These books aren't just stories or feel-good philosophies. They're blueprints. Blueprints created from centuries of experience by those who came before us and figured out what it takes to accumulate wealth. They teach you about the principles that never change, the habits that never fail, and the mindset that separates the wealthy from everyone else. You might be thinking, I don't have time to read, but here's the secret. If you're not investing time in learning about money, you're paying for ignorance every day. The price tag might not be obvious at first, but it's there in missed opportunities, bad investments, wasted spending, and the stress that comes from financial confusion. Even just 20 minutes a day is enough to complete a book every month, and if you make it a non-negotiable part of your routine, you'll be amazed how quickly your understanding grows. Now, I'm not saying read these books and then sit back and wait for wealth to fall into your lap. Knowledge without action is like having a map, but never starting the journey. As you read, take notes. Reflect on how these lessons apply to your own financial life, and then put what you learn into practice. If you learn about saving, start setting aside money. If you read about investing, open an account and make your first purchase. If you learn about budgeting, track your expenses more closely. Action is the bridge between knowledge and wealth. One of the greatest advantages of building your financial literacy is that it gives you confidence. It reduces fear and uncertainty, the very things that keep most people stuck. When you understand the basics of money management, investing in wealth building, you can spot opportunities where others see risk. You can make decisions that grow your wealth steadily and wisely. So start today. Pick a book. Begin with one of the classics, or find a highly recommended financial guide that resonates with you. Commit to learning a little every day. As your knowledge grows, so will your ability to create wealth. Remember, wealth isn't built overnight, but the right knowledge makes every step forward purposeful. Invest in your mind. As you invest in your money, the return will surprise you. One of the most important truths about building wealth is that your income is directly tied to the value you bring to the marketplace. If you want to increase your earning potential, you must commit to becoming more valuable every single year. This is not just about working harder. It's about working smarter, growing yourself, and expanding your skill set in ways that others can't easily replace. Think about it this way. The market rewards people who solve problems, create opportunities, and lead others. The more you learn and the more you can contribute, the more you'll be paid. But that doesn't happen by accident. It requires deliberate effort year after year to master new skills that raise your value, whether it's improving your communication so you can persuade and inspire, sharpening your sales skills to close bigger deals, developing leadership to guide teams to success, or learning marketing to attract and retain customers. These are skills that never lose their worth. I remember early in my career, I decided to invest in my ability to speak effectively. Public speaking was not something I was naturally comfortable with, but I knew that if I wanted to grow, I had to master it. So I committed time each week to practice, learn, and refine this skill. That investment paid off tenfold. The ability to clearly and persuasively communicate opened doors I hadn't even imagined. And it led to opportunities that significantly increased my income. The key is to treat your personal development like a business. Set a goal every year to acquire one high-value skill. It could be technical, like mastering a new software or financial analysis. Or it could be interpersonal, like negotiating or leading a team. Whatever you choose, focus on becoming truly competent, even exceptional. This dedication to continuous improvement creates momentum over time. Those new skills compound, creating exponential growth in your earning potential. Another point to consider is adaptability. The world changes rapidly, and industries evolve. What was valuable 5 years ago might not be in demand today. By committing to annual skill building, you keep yourself relevant, you stay ahead of the curve, and that makes you indispensable. Employers, clients, and business partners are willing to pay a premium for someone who can adapt and grow with the times. Sometimes people get discouraged because the increase in income doesn't happen overnight. But building skills is a long game. Much like planting seeds, you water them consistently, and eventually they grow into fruitful trees. Each new skill is like adding another branch to your tree of wealth. The bigger and stronger your tree becomes, the more fruit it bears. Also remember that investing in yourself doesn't always mean spending money. It can mean dedicating time each day to reading, watching instructional videos, practicing new techniques, or seeking mentorship. The most valuable investments often cost little, but require discipline and focus. So make it your mission each year to stretch yourself beyond what you know. Learn a skill that challenges you, that makes you uncomfortable, because growth rarely happens in comfort zones. And as you increase your value, you'll find that your income naturally follows. This is the principle that turns ambition into results. Grow your skills, increase your value, and watch your income rise accordingly. There's a profound truth that many overlook. Your daily habits are the foundation upon which your financial future is built. Future wealth doesn't come from a single act or lucky break. It comes from the consistent, deliberate actions you take day after day. The habits you form, those small decisions and routines, either move you closer to prosperity or pull you further away. So the question is, how do you turn these habits into streams of income that sustain and grow your wealth over time? The first step is to identify one daily action that holds potential value, something you can do regularly that either creates or shares value with others. It might be writing, teaching, promoting, building, selling, or any skill or service that people need and are willing to pay for. This action becomes the seed from which your income stream can grow. For example, if you enjoy writing, start by journaling your ideas, then share your insights through a blog or newsletter. If teaching is your strength, dedicate time each day to creating lessons or tutorials that others can learn from. Next, document your process carefully. When you track what you're doing and refine your approach, you're essentially building a blueprint or roadmap that you can follow and improve. This documentation not only helps you stay consistent, but also provides material that can be repurposed, sold, or expanded. For instance, if you're developing a skill like digital marketing, writing down your strategies and results can become the basis for a course or consulting service down the line. Consistency is the key here. Income streams rarely emerge from one-off efforts. They require patience, persistence. Just like planting a tree and watering it daily, these habits need time and nurturing before they bear fruit. You might not see immediate financial rewards, but as you build trust, reputation, and expertise, income will begin to flow steadily. This is the difference between fleeting luck and lasting wealth, habitual value creation. One practical example is someone who commits to posting valuable content on social media daily. Over time, as they grow an engaged audience, this consistent habit opens opportunities for monetization through sponsorships, product sales, or services. Another example is an individual who dedicates time each morning to learning and then shares their knowledge via webinars or ebooks. These habits compound, creating multiple income channels that continue generating revenue even when they're not actively working. It's important to understand that turning habits into income streams is not just about the act itself, but about mindset and discipline. You must view your daily habits not as chores, but as investments in your future. The habit of reaching out to potential clients, creating helpful content, or learning new skills becomes your currency in the marketplace. When you approach it with seriousness and intentionality, your efforts transform into profitable ventures. Finally, remember that your habits are flexible. As you grow, your daily income-producing actions will evolve. The key is to maintain that core practice of consistency and value creation, adapting as opportunities and markets change. This approach keeps your income streams resilient and growing over time. Turn your daily actions into habits. Nurture those habits with discipline and focus. Over time, you'll watch them blossom into streams of income that sustain your financial independence. This is how wealth becomes a natural result of your everyday life. Setting wealth goals without deadlines is like setting sail without a compass. You might move, but you won't know where you're headed or how long it will take to get there. The process of building wealth begins not just with dreams, but with clear, measurable targets combined with time frames that hold you accountable. When you set specific financial goals and deadlines, you transform vague wishes into actionable plans. And that's where progress truly begins. From my own experience, I learned that success rarely happens by chance. It comes from clarity and commitment. When I first started, I didn't simply say, I want to be wealthy. Instead, I set concrete goals to save a certain amount, to build a business that earns a set income, and to invest in opportunities that would grow over time. But more importantly, I attached deadlines. For example, I'd say I will save $5,000 by December, or I will generate 100 inside income within 90 days. These deadlines created a sense of urgency and focus that propelled me forward. Having a deadline means you're forced to break your goal into manageable pieces. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by a distant target, you focus on monthly and weekly milestones. This is the power of measurement. When you track your progress every month, you gain valuable insights about what's working and what needs adjustment. If you fall behind, you don't get discouraged. You learn, recalibrate, and keep moving forward. This continuous process of review and adjustment is what separates those who achieve their financial goals from those who merely dream about them. It's also important to make your goals specific. Saying, I want to increase my net worth is good, but saying, I want to increase my net worth by 10% in 6 months is powerful. Specificity brings clarity. You know exactly what you're aiming for, and that clarity fuels motivation and discipline. And when your goal is measurable, you can celebrate small wins along the way, which builds confidence and momentum. Deadlines also train your mind to value time as much as money. Wealth isn't just about accumulating cash. It's about how you use time to create and multiply that cash. When you commit to a deadline, you respect the time available and make every day count. This sense of urgency keeps procrastination at bay and drives consistent action. Remember, setbacks are part of the journey. You might miss a target or face unexpected challenges, but having a goal with a deadline means you're always moving forward with intention. You're not wandering aimlessly. You're navigating with purpose, and every step brings you closer to success. So don't leave your wealth to chance. Define your financial targets clearly. Set deadlines that challenge you and commit to tracking your progress monthly. Adjust your course when needed, but never lose sight of the timeline. This discipline is the bridge between dreaming about wealth and living it. Keep your eyes on the prize and make your deadlines the fuel for your financial journey. As we come to the close of this conversation, remember this. Wealth is not a matter of luck or mere chance. It is the natural outcome of deliberate thinking, consistent action-focused effort, and the patient respect for time. Success does not happen overnight, nor does it favor the hurried or the distracted. It rewards those who plan clearly, work steadily, and refuse to be swayed by every passing impulse. You've heard the strategy, starting with understanding where you stand financially, setting clear and measurable goals, building habits that create income, and tracking your progress faithfully. But none of these tools matter if you do not apply them with discipline. Discipline is the silent force that turns dreams into realities. It's what separates the wealthy thinker from the one who merely wishes. Now is the moment for you to take ownership, to stop waiting for perfect conditions, to stop making excuses, and to start designing your financial future with intention. Begin today by assessing your current financial baseline. Set a clear goal with a deadline. Commit to daily actions that move you closer to that goal. Surround yourself with people who push you to be better, who challenge your thinking and hold you accountable. Make your environment one that nurtures growth and clarity. I urge you to act boldly but wisely. Make your financial success non-negotiable. Remember, time is the greatest ally you have when it is respected and managed with purpose. Wealth is a journey, not a destination. It is built one step at a time with patience and perseverance. Take what you've learned here and apply it every day. Track your progress, adjust your course when necessary, but never lose sight of your vision. Your future is created by what you do now, not tomorrow, not next week. So go forth, think financially, work consistently, build wealth with focus, and succeed with time. The life of financial freedom you desire is waiting for you. Claim it